have a chance here to visit with USDA Undersecretary Greg Ibach as he makes visits to flood-damaged areas here in the Midwest in Nebraska. And my first question for you, Undersecretary, is what are your goals from this trip? I know you're surveying flood damage, but what are your exact goals of this trip?
Well, there's quite a few things we can accomplish on this trip. We started out with a little town hall meeting yesterday that Governor Ricketts sponsored. We had members of the congressional delegation represented there. We had farm groups invited to come and hear about the different programs that not only USDA is offering through FSA, APHIS, and AMS, but also how the state is managing and working with the state's DEQ, so the environmentally equivalent, as well as how roads is working to restore bridges and stuff. So we could get information out to the farm groups. And then also it's always important to see firsthand what people are talking about when it comes to disasters. You know, you really can't put it in perspective until you put eyes on it. And so we've spent yesterday afternoon as well as much of today, here Tuesday, going to be stopping at different agricultural stops to see the impacts of the flood.
All right, so with that being said, I actually had the chance to speak with Nebraska Farm Bureau President Steve Nelson the other day. He mentioned that he expects several programs to become available out of this situation. One issue farmers, producers are seeing from this flood is large deposits of sand being left on their fields. Do you see a program becoming available to help with this situation? Because that's a difficult situation to deal with.
Yes, there are actually a couple programs that could come into play for those, and depending on the producer and how he wants to work on it. I think that obviously EQIP has funding that has producers many times have worked with to try to improve their properties, and that could have some opportunities as well. But probably more likely is the Emergency Conservation Program that might be available if Congress would provide additional funding to that. It has a mechanism that not only allows for field grading and shaping, but also for fence replacement and repair.
Can you just tell us where and how people can get help, or if they're not affected, how they can help?
So the most important first step for every farmer or rancher, no matter what state you're in, is to call your FSA office. And almost every one of these programs is a cost share program that starts out with a notification that you want to participate in the program. Then the FSA office can explain to you what records you need to keep or what thresholds you need to reach in order to be eligible for the program. You know, with the livestock indemnity program, that's you need to be over a normal loss level. And, you know, for baby calves lost in the blizzard, that's 5% loss. That you need to be over that to start qualifying for the program. And so that's your first stop, is to call your local county FSA office, have a visit with them, tell them what your needs are, and they will help try to match you to a program.
Maybe a message or some words you'd like to leave with some producers that aren't exactly in the federally declared disaster zone, but those still affected with a tough ag economy and really a tough season, hard winter, blizzard out in the west part of Nebraska, and really flooding damaged in the north, central, and central Nebraska parts, but not under that federal declaration. A message to those producers.
Well, first of all, the governors in Nebraska and Iowa, I think, are still intent. I know in Nebraska it's true to expand those disaster declarations outside those initial counties. You know, there's some benefits by getting FEMA on the ground in your state, by getting those easy counties that are easy to get to, easy to get out and make an assessment of, that are close to an urban area right away. But Governor Ricketts said yesterday he's planning to continue to pursue more counties. So you'll see more counties added on in both Nebraska and Iowa, and I'm sure Kansas as we progress through it. But you also brought up an important point, is that this has been an extremely hard winter on livestock producers. And as you look at the continuing moisture, whether it be snow or rain. Lots of times we got rain at times when we would get normally be cold enough to get snow. And then we had extremely low temperatures. And so this is war on livestock. And so I think that's why we're also seeing higher death loss, because the cows aren't strong enough. They don't have high quality colostrum when the calves are born. And I think after this flood and blizzard and cold weather events that we've had over the last 2 or 3 weeks that have really been the crescendo on the whole experience, we're going to see calves that are more fragile and more susceptible to disease and pneumonias. And so the Nebraska FSA office has actually put in a request to USDA to consider if we can expand the window of eligibility for the livestock indemnity program. If that's successful in Nebraska, I think you will see that extend to other states as well.
USDA Undersecretary Greg Ibach, thank you for taking the time to speak with us this morning.
Yeah, my pleasure. And I just, my heart as a rancher myself goes out to the damage that I'm seeing on farms and in ranches, and learning about the cattle and livestock that was swept away. It's a tough emotional transition for farmers and ranchers, and I think that we should all remember the stress that they're under and think about them often.
Again, thank you for taking the time to speak with us this morning. For USDA Undersecretary Greg Ibach and myself, Bryce Dolan, you're listening to KFRM 550 AM, the voice of the Plains.